Chris, thank you very much for talking with us. It's important that you want to say something. Let's start there. What do you want to say about your situation?
I want to make it clear to everyone that, this is not over, that the Blackwater what you read in the newspaper about Blackwater contractors found guilty is not the case. We weren't found guilty of what we went to trial for. When we went to trial for murder and went to trial for machine gun charges, we weren't found guilty of that. We were found guilty of something that was later added as an option and taken by the jury as kind of a lesser charge, and I just want to make it clear that we're not, we were not drunk savage contractors over there, acting like cowboys, that we were trying to get home to our families and I don't know.
Chris, tell us exactly what you remember about the situation. What happened? In a very much of a Cliff Note version, play by play, what happened?
We were transporting two interpreters back to a taxi stand in Kabul City, and while we were on our way there, a car came up behind us, got into the middle of our convoy, and struck our lead vehicle. Our lead vehicle went out of control and rolled 3 to 4 times into a ditch. Once it rolled 3 to 4 times into a ditch, myself, and Justin Cannon got out of the vehicle to provide security for that vehicle and try to abstract whatever contractors we could out of that vehicle, not knowing if they were dead or injured or, and when we got out of the vehicle, the same vehicle that had just struck our lead vehicle came the wrong way down Jalalabad Road towards our vehicle, towards us, and tried to strike myself and Justin Cannon with their vehicle, at which point we opened fire on that vehicle and struck the driver, killed the passenger, and struck a pedestrian that was 200 yards away. And then extracted our men from the vehicle that had been overturned, left the scene of the shooting, got back to our fob, reported everything to CID, reported everything to the Afghan government. There was no cover-up. There was no, as everyone keeps reading in the newspapers and everything keeps being put out there as this Blackwater cover-up. We reported everything that happened that night. We were upfront and honest with all investigators as far as everything that had happened. But somehow we still ended up being called the drunken contractors that shot civilians. And it never came out until the second trial that, in fact, we were acting in self-defense towards a vehicle that tried to kill me and my partner.
Judge Dumar apparently had a problem. Is there anything you want to say about Judge Dumar?
Honestly, I have not had an experience with Judge Dumar where the people that were involved in that experience didn't tell me that he was, be careful because he's outlandish. He's, he's not the usual judge. He's someone that will, and calling two people that are on trial mercenaries and soldiers of fortune in front of a jury, to me is just, a judge is supposed to be impartial, and Judge Dumar was far from impartial. So
he seemed to have a problem, I guess, and that you opened fire on a retreating vehicle, firing more than 30 rounds, according to the testimony. Why did you fire so many rounds on a vehicle that was leaving?
We started firing on the vehicle from the left driver's side of the vehicle. If they actually showed the vehicle when they brought the vehicle here to Norfolk, we shot out the front left tire. We shot the side of the tire, the left side of the tire. Because if you can imagine a vehicle that just tried to strike you, and as it's going past you, you're firing on it. And you're not firing on the occupants of the vehicle, you're firing on the vehicle. You're trying to disable this vehicle and make this vehicle a paperweight. So you're firing on the vehicle, you shoot out the front left tire, you shoot the side of the tire, but yes, you continue firing on that vehicle, hoping that you just disabled this VBID, or this vehicle-based improvised explosive device, as we were taught to consider a vehicle at any time, because at any time a vehicle can turn into something that can kill anything within a 100-yard radius. And that's exactly what we did. We fired on this vehicle until it was at least 15 yards away, because if you don't fire on this vehicle, you don't continue firing on this vehicle and try to disable it, that vehicle can come back. And it can continue to be a 2,000-pound weapon to kill you and anybody around you.
Now, the person who was driving the car said that he became, I guess, confused. He was in the Toyota Corolla.
There was no confusion. Me and my entire team know, and to this day, know not only Afghan, Dari, and Pashtu how to say stop, put your hands up. We're very good at what we did. We yelled in not only Dari, American, and Pashtu, stop, put your hands up. There was no confusion as to stop, go, which is what he said in trial. We were two American contractors standing in the middle of Jalalabad, the second most dangerous road in the world. And this is by the United States government, has been classed as the second most dangerous road in the world next to the Gaza Strip. We yelled, stop, Dasta Bala, which is put your hands up, with machine gun in one man's hand and a pistol in the other man's hand. There's no question as to what we wanted him to do. Stop your vehicle and don't direct your vehicle at two Americans standing in the middle of the road.
He said he became confused when the three men waved him on, but a fourth told him to stop.
Three men waved him on, fourth told him to stop. There were only two people, myself and Justin Cannon, in the second vehicle. There weren't four people in the middle of that road. There was me and Justin Cannon. That's why me and Justin Cannon are the only two people on trial. If there were four people waving him on and telling him to stop, then there would be four people on trial.
Then when he drove off, you opened fire on the retreating vehicle, firing more than 30 rounds.
Absolutely not. We started firing on that vehicle as it passed us after it had just tried to strike me and my partner.
So at this point where you're not opening fire?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As it's coming up to us, we're holding our hand out. I've got a pistol in my hand. He's got a machine gun in his, and we're yelling, stop, stop. We're banging on his hood, and instead of stopping, he's blazing right past us. So as he blazed past us, we're assuming the worst. We're in a country where people pack their cars full of explosives and blow up Americans.
Yeah, what were you thinking at that time?
I was thinking I wasn't going home to my family. I was thinking I wasn't coming home to my two kids. I was thinking that this was a VBID that was about to go, and not only that, this is a car that's going the wrong way. They were coming the wrong way down Jalalabad.
Did you think they had explosives in the car?
Absolutely. I thought they had just taken our lead vehicle out, that they were back to finish the job. Our lead vehicle is now laying upside down in the ditch. They've come back the wrong way down Jalalabad and now are trying to strike me and my partner, Justin Cannon. And at this point, we're yelling stop, and they're not stopping. So we open fire on the vehicle.
And this is the same vehicle that got into your convoy?
Yes.
Well, how did they get into the convoy?
They passed. Our vehicle was behind our lead vehicle. They passed our vehicle. We weren't able to take a shot at their engine block. We weren't able to take a shot at their driver. They passed our vehicle. We're in diesel-powered Land Cruisers.
This is just people going to dinner?
No, this is us.
These people were on the way to dinner, according to the testimony.
No.
Wasn't that the testimony?
Absolutely, yeah. And,
So,
I'm sure, I'm sure they were headed to dinner when they struck a vehicle in a two-vehicle convoy.
Fareed drove home from dinner with a coworker. He approached the scene and became confused. So they were coming home from dinner.
Sure.
Became confused. You think they were more sinister?
Became confused and struck a vehicle doing at least 65 miles an hour and pitted it into a ditch.
Well, Chris, what do you think they were really doing?
They were attacking Americans, and not only attacking Americans once, but then coming the wrong way back down Jalalabad and trying to attack Americans twice.
But did they have weapons in their car?
I have no idea. Never met Fareed, never met the gentleman that was in the car with him.
And obviously didn't have explosives. But you didn't know that at the time.
I couldn't tell you, honestly, because we didn't get the vehicle, and the United States government didn't get the vehicle for 3 days. After this incident, they drove off, and the American government couldn't even get the vehicle for 3 days. So who knows if they had explosives in their car or weapons in their car, but it's easy after the fact to say, oh, we were just headed to dinner and we got into a car accident.
How were they able to drive away?
Because we didn't disable their vehicle, because they hit the back of our vehicle.
But how many times did you shoot it? How many?
I couldn't tell you how
30?
many times. No, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times we actually hit the vehicle.
It's amazing to me that they were able to drive away.
They, like I said, in the second trial, we were able to bring their car back, and they actually admitted that as they drove past us, we shot out their front left tire. But when you put the pedal to the floor and drive off, front left tires out or not, you're able to drive away.
That Mr. Drotleff is a good father, I have no doubt, Judge Dumar said. A good husband, I have no doubt. But I don't think that he has accepted any responsibility for his actions. Your response?
My response is I absolutely accept responsibility for my actions. And I stand by the fact that I did that day what anyone would have done to make it home to my kids, my wife, and my family.
The second quote, we can't get around the fact that all of the bullet holes were in the rear of the vehicle, Judge Dumar said. It was reckless conduct, totally reckless.
Absolutely not. The vehicle did not only have bullet holes in the rear of the vehicle. The only bullet holes that Dumar allowed to be shown and allowed to be talked about were the ones in the back of the vehicle. He didn't allow the bullet holes in the left side of the vehicle, the fact that the front tire had been shot out. He didn't allow any of that admissible because he called that circumstantial. It could be that they ran over a pothole. It could be that they, ran into a pole. It could be that a bird flew into their grill. But the ones in the rear of the vehicle were absolutely bullet holes. So he said the ones that a FBI analyst was able to put rods through and absolutely say that they were bullet holes were the ones that were able to be called bullet holes, but the ones in the side could be something else. It could have been, whatever. So the ones that Mr. Dumar allowed to be called evidence were in the rear side and rear of the vehicle.
But why were there any bullet holes in the rear of the car suggesting that as it's driving away, you're opening fire on it?
Because I can only
you shoot him in the back,
no,
he's running away.
I can only put it as this. You've got a 2,000-pound weapon that just tried to clip you and your partner, and then you tell it to stop and it doesn't stop. And you're assuming at this point you live you're living in the country where suicide bombers are a daily occurrence. If you can imagine allowing something like that, a 2,000-pound weapon possibly packed with explosives, to get away and turn around and come back, that's a scary thought. If you can imagine letting that get away and get another shot at you, that's a scary, scary thought. So yes, we continued firing on that vehicle, and there were rounds in the back of that vehicle, but that's because as that vehicle passed us, we shot at it. After it had passed us, we continued shooting at it, because the last thing you want is a 2,000-pound explosive weapon being able to make a U-turn and get a second chance at what it just tried to do.
What was your mindset at the time?
I wanted to get home. I wanted to get out of that country and get home to my family.
But the mindset at the time when the attack was taking place?
Oh, lived through it.
Were you losing your...
No, absolutely not. Honestly,
were you losing your mind?
No, absolutely not. I honestly, we actually accredited, my teammates and I, after this happened, we sat down and we accredited everyone for the fact that everyone kept their heads. Everyone, my partner Justin Cannon laid down security. And when we did fire on the vehicle, everything was done very specifically. Everything was done very calculated. And, it was a blessing that we got, every member of the team that was upside down in that first vehicle out of that vehicle, and that everyone lived, But everyone kept their heads, and everyone acted, they really kept to their military training. And, it was a good night that everyone lived, at least.
In a statement after the verdict, U.S. Attorney Neil McBride said, Drotleff's actions not only took innocent lives, but also seriously harmed our mission in Afghanistan and put the lives of American military and civilians in danger. The jury's verdict in today's sentence shows that no one is above the law, even in a combat zone, and that the reckless use of force will be punished. Your response?
My response is this. It's easy for someone that sits in a room, in a courtroom in Virginia Beach or Norfolk, to say how reckless someone is when they're overseas. Until you're overseas and you live in that and you lower flags every other day for fallen military members and you watch the carnage that is Afghanistan, you don't tell me about reckless force, because you don't know what reckless force is. We didn't act in reckless force. We acted in self-defense. And for him to say that and say that it won't be tolerated because some charge was dumbed down from murder all the way to involuntary manslaughter is him basically saying the government spent $8 million trying to convict these two men of murder. We ended up getting one involuntary manslaughter charge, so I'm going to go in front of the media and say how we won and they acted so recklessly. They know we didn't act recklessly, because by the second trial, they were saying that we weren't drunk, we just made a mistake, is what we did. And no one made a mistake. They know we didn't make a mistake, but once you open a can of worms that's cost the government and the United States people as much money as they spent trying to convict us, of course you're going to go in front of the media and try to say that we acted recklessly.
Anything else you want to add to that?
I just honestly, I want to reiterate the fact that, it's hard for people to understand what people go through over there on a daily basis. I mean, you wake up to running to a bunker because they're dropping mortars on your fob. You wake up to V-bids going off at the gate because they're trying to blow up the gate. And people don't understand. You hear Alan Salisbury and Stoker and all these prosecutors saying that, we acted recklessly. And it blows my mind, because I wish one of them would just go to Afghanistan and see what reckless is, because that real recklessness is what you live in Afghanistan every day.
So how come, if people believe what you've said and everything, why aren't you given a pass on this?
Honestly, and I don't want to sound like,
it's a war zone, it's combat, you're defending your life, you want to come home to your family, it's a war zone, Afghanistan, most dangerous road in the world. How come you aren't given a pass? They think you've done something wrong.
Because we're Blackwater. Because Blackwater's they've got this name for being this notoriously, we're mercenaries, and and honestly, if we weren't Blackwater, and I've had American, very high-ranking American military tell me that if we were military, this would have never made it to paper. But the fact is, we're not military, we're Blackwater. And every time Blackwater sneezes the wrong way, they end up in the news. And right now, we're being used as a scapegoat to try to fulfill some agenda that certain people have against Blackwater.
You were talking about when you get off the plane, they're talking about bounties on heads. Tell me that story again.
I mean, when you get off the plane in Afghanistan, you land in Kandahar. And if you can imagine, you land in an airport with gun turrets all over the airport. So when they land the plane, they're aiming gun turrets all around you to make sure that no one's going to fire on your aircraft when you land. Once you land, the people that come to pick you up literally throw you a body armor vest and a weapon, and say, put that on, and if you have to, defend yourself. Once you get back to the Blackwater Safe House, they give you the speech, and the speech is, you're now a Blackwater contractor. You have well over a $50,000 bounty on your head. In Afghanistan, $50,000 is like winning the Powerball in Virginia Beach. So if you can imagine, killing you and taking your head is something that would be winning the lottery for a Taliban member. That in itself, and the fact that we drive through cities where people are carrying where teens are carrying AK-47s, where you wake up every morning and 3 out of 4 mornings that you wake up, there's an explosion. 3 out of 4 nights that you go to bed, there's an explosion. You know that there are people trying to kill you, and it's nerve-wracking. It's absolutely nerve-wracking. Because everywhere you go, there's shooting, they're shooting at you, they're blowing things up, it's nerve-wracking.
Incident, we've talked about the trial, we've got this, we know your thoughts on this. I want to talk about you personally and what it means for you to be on the threshold of spending the next 37 months in a federal prison.
Well, what it means to me is that my 6-year-old son will be 9 years old when I get out of prison, that my 3-year-old will be 6. It's devastating. I'm a business owner here locally in the Hampton Roads. I've tried to lead a good life. I've tried to be an outstanding citizen here in the Hampton Roads, and you know, this trial has already torn my family apart, torn my life apart. And what it means to me is that basically it's the final blow being given by the U.S. government to finalize our destruction. My family's, we're finished as far as this goes.
As you're waiting for a call right now. I mean, you're supposed to turn yourself in.
We are.
What is your understanding about what you're supposed to do?
The judge put out an order. My attorneys are trying to get an appeal on that order, but we're at this point under the understanding that within the next few hours we're going to be turning ourselves into the federal government to be placed in a federal prison.
What did you say to your children for the last time before you're going away to prison?
I can't say anything to them. They're not old enough to even try to fathom what war is or what.
But certainly you must have said something. They're going to come home tonight and you're not going to be here, and you aren't going to be here for the next 37 months.
I just told them I loved them and that I'd see them later.
Did you tell them where you were going?
No.
You just said Daddy's going away.
I said Daddy's got to go somewhere and I'll see you when I get back.
Did they cry?
No.
Did you?
I spent a lot of time trying to steady myself from all this, and I guess after 4 years of going through this, I've kind of become hardened to it, so I don't cry anymore about it.
How about Gina?
She cries.
What have you all talked about?
Just glad that my wife is strong and stays with me and believes in me and knows that I was never never had any bad intentions in any of this, that I was simply trying to help my country and help my family.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I just want to make it clear that, you know, I stand by the fact that what happened that night was not wrong, that we acted in self-defense, and that this is not over, and that we are not done with all this. And I want to make it clear that we came to trial for murder. We came to trial for assault. We didn't come to trial for manslaughter. We didn't come to trial for involuntary manslaughter. We didn't come to trial under the understanding that we were going to be given, that the jury was going to be given a multiple choice option and asked to simply pick one, but to pick one. That's what upsets me about this entire thing, is because it should not be a multiple choice option, and you have to pick one situation when you go to federal trial for something that happened in a war zone.
Do you wish you had testified?
I do, honestly. The reason I'm talking to you today is because I've really never been able to say anything. I've never been able to give my side of anything. I've never been able to speak on any of this, and neither is Justin Cannon. I mean, since this began, we've been told, stay quiet, just we'll ride this through, and we'll be really quiet and really soft about everything, and it just hasn't worked.
Ride this through.
Yeah.
Ride this through. You're spending the next 37 months in prison.
Exactly.
Ride it through to where?
Yeah,
prison?
Evidently ride it through to prison. Yeah, because it's something that is so touchy, and for the government, it's so touchy for Blackwater contractors to be on trial for what we're on trial for. And now even when we're being told for the last 2 years you've been kept out to run a business here in the Hampton Roads, but just be real quiet about the fact that you're about to head off to federal prison for the next 2.5 years. And I'm sorry, but I can't do that. That's why.
Do you feel that the U.S. government let you down?
I feel the U.S. government has agendas, and we were a tool in that agenda. I think that agenda is very misguided. I think we were a tool being used to say, look, Afghanistan, this is what we'll do to people that come over there, and think they have the right to do anything other than exactly what we tell them they have the right to do. That's honestly what I feel. I feel we've been used as a scapegoat. And honestly, since I've been out, I would say literally 1,000 people that said, you guys are scapegoats. And honestly, I don't want to be a scapegoat. I don't want to be the government's new scapegoat that goes off to federal prison for 2.5 years. I want to be a father that stays home with my family for the next 2.5 years and continues to be a productive member of society like I have been.
Anything else you want to add?
That's it.